In this tutorial, you will learn how to create a spot announcement that features animated text. A public service announcement, or PSA, is one type of spot announcement. To begin, you should have a project folder in your Google Drive folder. You should have already had your script and storyboard approved. You should also have recorded and edited your narration and exported a WAV formatted file of your audio track. To create your animated announcement, you will use Adobe After Effects, a software tool used by professionals throughout the world. In your Applications folder, open the Adobe After Effects folder. Then add the Adobe After Effects application to your dock. Click on the After Effects alias on your dock to open the program. When the Welcome screen opens, click on the New Composition button. Project files in After Effects are called compositions. For composition settings, type your composition name using this format: PSA-title-name. Substitute a 1 or 2 word project title for title and your name for name. For the preset, click on the pull-down menu and choose HDTV 1080 29.97 for the setting. For the duration, enter 15 seconds. Note that HDTV 1080 will set the size of your composition to 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels high. The 29.97 means there will be 29.97 frames played back every second. This rate adjusts a 30 frames per second, or FPS rate, to correct for time differences in NTSC, the US television standard. Once your composition settings are correct, click on the OK button. To save your composition, press both the Command and the S keys on your keyboard at the same time, or open the File menu and click on the Save button. Next to the Save As field, click the arrow to reveal places on your computer, then navigate to your project folder. In the Save As field, type the same name you did when you set up your composition. When the name is correct, click the Save button. Note: remember to save your project often by using the Command and S keys on your keyboard. From the Window menu, choose Workspace, then click the text layout. Repeat opening the Window menu, choose Workspace, then click on the Reset Text option. When asked, "Are you sure?" click on the Yes button. Click on the Magnification Ratio pop-up, then click on the Fit option. Click on the Choose Grid and Guide Options button. Click Title Action Safe to make the guidelines appear. If the guidelines do not appear, click on Guides until a check mark appears next to it, and click on Title/Action Safe until a small circle appears next to it. The Title Action Safe guide will help you know which parts of your composition will be viewable on different screens. The complete image frame of your composition may be seen on some screens. If your project will only be seen on screens with a 16:9 aspect ratio, keep essential text within the 16:9 title safe area. However, since your project will also be seen on screens with a 4:3 aspect ratio, keep essential text within the 4:3 safe area. To create your composition, you need a copy of your script and your storyboard for reference. Import your audio track into your After Effects composition by using both the Command and I keys on your keyboard. Or, open the File menu and click the Import, then File button. Navigate to your project folder and choose your edited audio recording WAV file, then click the Open button. Find the WAV file in your project window and drag it to the Timeline window. To make the audio waveform visible, click the triangle next to the file name to reveal the audio track. Click the triangle next to the audio track to reveal the waveform item. Then click the triangle next to the waveform item to display the audio waveform on the timeline. The length of your audio track should be between 14 and 14.5 seconds, which is less than the 15 seconds length of your composition. Use the Selection tool to click on the waveform in the timeline and slide it until it is centered from left to right. Once your audio track is centered on the timeline, lock the track by clicking the space to the left of the track name right underneath the lock icon. To hear your audio track, open the Composition menu and select Preview, and make sure a check mark is next to Audio by clicking on it. To play the audio using RAM Preview, press the Control and 0 keys on your keyboard. Refer to your script and storyboard as you play the audio. When you get to the change from your first storyboard frame to the second, stop the audio playback. Each of the frames in your storyboard should represent one scene. Use the Control and 8 keys on your keyboard, or open the Layer menu and click Add Marker to place a marker on the timeline. The markers you create will usually appear where there are pauses between sentences or phrases in your audio track. Repeat the process to create markers indicating changes between each of your storyboard scenes. Refer to the first scene of your storyboard to type, resize, and lay out the text you will be animating. Choose the Text tool, then go to the Character panel and change the size to 72px, or pixels, to use as a starting point. Click in your composition image frame where the first word from your first storyboard scene will roughly appear. Then type the word. Click on the Selection tool, then click on the Text tool. Type the next word in your storyboard scene. Continue repeating this process until you have all of the words from your storyboard scene typed on the screen. Use the Select tool and click on one of the words you created. Then click on the lower right-hand corner handle. Drag the handle to make the word larger. As you start to drag the handle, click a Shift key on your keyboard to make sure the word does not change shape as it grows. When you have the word about the size indicated in your storyboard, release the mouse. Use the Select tool to click on the resized word and position it on the screen indicated in your storyboard. If necessary, readjust the size. Repeat those steps for each word in the frame. Make adjustments as needed to make the layout and size of the words appear as you prefer. Once you have the words about the size and position you want, you may want to select all of the words by holding a Shift key as you click on each word. With all words selected, you may resize them all at once or move the group to a new position. Make final adjustments on each word as needed to make sure they appear within the 4:3 safe title area, while maintaining the layout you intend in terms of size and position for each word. Remember to save your composition often as you work. To change where your text will start and end on the timeline, select all of the text layers in a scene by holding the Shift key on your keyboard and clicking on each layer. Click on the end of the layer in the timeline and drag it where the scene should end. This is most likely where your timeline marker indicates a change of scene. Use the same technique to adjust the start of the layers in a scene. If you wish to change the characteristics of text, use the Select tool and click on the word. In the Character panel, you can change the font style by clicking the pull-down menu next to the font family. Use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to scroll through different fonts. As you scroll, you will see your selected text change. Stop when you find the font you want. With your text still selected, you can change its color by clicking on the Fill Color square. When the text color window opens, select the new color you want, then click the OK button to choose it. If you wish to add a color outline to your text, click on the Stroke Color box. When the text color window opens, select the new color you want, then click the OK button to choose it. You can change the thickness of the outline by changing the Set the Stroke Width settings. Once you have your first scene finished, as I do here, you should use the same font style for all your text in each scene, and you may decide to use the same color too. I used a variety of colors just to make some things stand out, for example, money here. Now it's time to animate. So I'm going to choose the first word by clicking on it using the Selection tool. Then I'm going to move over here to the Effects and Presets window, and I'm going to click the triangle next to Animation Presets. And I'm going to scroll down to the one that says Text, and I'm going to click the triangle to open that up too. Now these are animation presets, and I want the word to come in, so I'm going to use an Animate In. There's a variety of ones to try. I found one that I kind of like. You can experiment with different ones. I'm going to double click on this one. As soon as I double click, since I had the word need selected, it kind of disappears on me because it's already started the animation. So I'm going to go down here to the timeline, and if I drag along it, you can see that the word need kind of comes in a special way, and then it disappears where the word need disappears on my timeline. So I want to go ahead and change some of these preset parameters. So I'm going to go here next to the word need and click the triangle to expand it. Now I can see text is down here. If it's not expanded, make sure you click on the triangle to expand it. You should see an animate 1. This is the animation parameters. Expand that, and down here is the range that shows where the first keyframe and the last keyframe are at. So I'm going to go ahead and click this down, and now I can see the first keyframe is right here at the start of it. If it wasn't there, I could click and drag it right to the beginning. But over here I notice the last keyframe is way beyond where I want this to end. I'm just going to check where that ends by holding down the Command 0 to listen to a RAM preview of the audio.
Do you need money for college?
Okay, now that moves a little bit fast, so if I want to do what's called scrubbing the audio so that I can hear it as I kind of drag along, I'm going to hold the Option and the Command keys on my keyboard and then go ahead and drag this.
Do you need?
Now I took it right to the end of do you need. That's where I want the word to be completely visible. So I'm going to go here to this end keyframe, click on it, and drag it over. And now when I play it back, I'll take it back to the beginning, and Control 0.
Do you need money for college?
And need is finished. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the same effect for each of my other words. I'm going to click on money, and I'll double click it. And now I'll go over here to money and expand that down. And do the same thing, animator and arrange selector. Now notice I wasn't at the beginning here, and so therefore my first keyframe is way here at the end. So I'm just going to click and drag that keyframe to the beginning. And then I want to go ahead and find where that's going to end. So I'll go ahead and scrub again with the Option Command key.
Do you need money?
And there's the end of money. So I'll go ahead and click its ending keyframe and drag it all the way down to the end. And now when I play it,
Do you need money for college?
and of course it kind of shows it first as it's getting the RAM preview ready. If I do it again now, it should be good.
Do you need money for?
So I've got money coming in, so let me go ahead and do the same thing with the word for. And again, I want to start it at the beginning to save myself moving that keyframe. So at the beginning, double click on the effect that I chose, the animate in. Go ahead and scrub it.
Do you need money for?
I'll go down here and expand for, and the animate, and the range selector, and move that keyframe. And now I can select college, and go up here to college. And even though I forgot to go ahead and drag this over, I'll go ahead and drag this over here to the beginning, and then I'll go ahead and scrub.
Do you need money for college?
And there's college right there, and I'll bring this down to the end. And now, if I preview all of this, it'll build it.
Do you need money for college?
Now, instead of me having all of them start at the same point, I'd like to add a little bit of variety. So I'm going to go back down here over to the first, actually the second one, money. So let's go to money. And what I want to do is I don't want the money to start coming in until that first letter in the word need is there. So there, the N is kind of popped in. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the beginning of where money starts. And now I'll go over and right where that M has come in, I'm going to go ahead and slide the beginning of where the word for starts. And then I'm going to go forward and see where the F comes in. And now I'll slide the beginning of where the word college starts. And here's where it is here. So it's kind of a subtle change, but you can see you can move the first keyframe where the action starts, and you can move the end keyframe where the action ends, and then you can look at it back.
Do you need money for college?
Now, what I need to do is have everything go away. Now, right now, it just kind of disappears a little bit too soon. So I'm going to go ahead and just scrub this a little bit.
College? Come to the.
Okay, I think right about there is where I want it to disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and minimize all of these parameters. So now I can select each one of these, and I'll just hold shift as I click through them. And now I can drag where this ends. I'll just bring it a little bit beyond where I've stopped, so there's a bit of overlap. And I'm going to go ahead and start the disappearance right about here. So I'll go back through, and now I'll choose a different parameter. So I'll go down here, and instead of animate in, I'll go ahead and choose something that's animate out. And let's see, I'm going to try the raining characters. Now I've got all of them selected, so if I double click it, it should add that to all of them, and it did. Now, let me just go ahead and change those parameters. So I've clicked on one, I still have them all selected. And let's see if I can go not animator 1, I now want to go to animator 2. So I'll click animator 2, scroll down here and range selector. And now I've got this out point way down, way far away. And where I want it to end is actually right. Let's see if I can move it over. Yeah, right about there. So now I can go down here and click on my out point and move it. And I'll scroll down, and I want to make sure that I change all of these, and I can kind of see it grayed out here, but I can't select it until I open Animator 2 and the range selector. And now I can move that one over. And I'll go through and do the last couple also. So again, not Animator 1, but Animator 2. This is the second parameter I've put on there. I'm going to open the range selector, find the last keyframe for it, slide it over, and go down. I've got just one more to do. So go down to Animator 2, range selector, and drag this over. Okay, let's see how it all looks. I'll go back to the beginning here, and I'll do a RAM preview. Let's see if I get this back to the start. And a RAM preview, Command 0. It'll render it first, which means it's going to prepare all the visuals and all the playback. So you can see the timeline kind of going there with that green advancing along here. It takes a while to build because I've got a lot of different animations in here now. And I think it's going to look kind of interesting. So first it all comes together, and then it all starts going apart.
Do you need money for college? Come to the Cash for College workshop.
So you need to experiment with the different transitions using the effects and presets, animation in and out, and build your first scene. And then you can use the same process as you build the rest of the scenes in your video. Okay, I've gone ahead and laid out my second scene. Here you can see I've chosen all green for Cash for College workshop. And down here I've got the words starting at the bottom, cash. The 4, since it's the second time I've used the word 4 in my composition, it's got a number 2 next to it. I've got college and workshop. Now if you notice on the timeline right now, they extend the entire length of my spot, but I don't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and again select each of these, holding shift as I click on each one. And then I can drag the beginning here by clicking, and I'm going to drag it right to where my first marker was. And then I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to click and drag and adjust the time so it's just a little bit beyond that second marker to give me a little bit of overlap. So as I did before, I want to go ahead and bring these in, but instead of using presets, I can actually animate these individually. So let me just turn off, well actually I'll leave those on and I'll see where this comes in. So as that falls away, I know that that's where I want the cache to appear. So I'll go down here and expand my cache. And I've expanded all of them since I had them all selected. But I'll just focus on cache right now. And if I open up text, I've got the text appearing. And it gives me different options here. But I'm going to go ahead and minimize the text and open up the transform. And now this is similar to what we did in Premiere using position and scale and rotation. So I'll go ahead and click on an anchor point here on keyframes, position and scale and rotation. And I'm going to go ahead and slide forward and let me scrub again with the audio. So I want cache to appear by then, so I'll go ahead and add keyframes by clicking here. So I've added 2 keyframes. Now I'm just going to go back to my first keyframes and I can move this. So I'll just go ahead and I can drag to change the size and hold shift to make sure it stays the same, and then just kind of move it off the screen. And now when I play it back, it just pops into place. So I manually did it. So cache, I'll try something different for the 4. Let me go ahead and minimize this. And I'll go ahead and expand the transform underneath 4. And I know I want it to start. Let's see where I want it to end first of all. There's where it's going to end. So I'll go ahead and set my keyframes for position and scale and rotation in case I want to rotate it. And then I'll back up. And maybe I'll start it right about here. So I've got the cache just starting to come in. And let me go ahead and yeah, I'll start it right about there. And I'll just use the scale function. So over here, let me go ahead and scale that down to where it's just infinity here. I'll just set those for 0. And now I know that's gone, so now I can go ahead and see how that comes in. And now I'll try something different for college. So I'll go up here to college and expand the transform. And I'll go ahead and see where this is going to end. There's where college is going to end, so I'll set those. And in this case, I'm just going to and I think I'll start it right there. And I'll just move it off to the side. So let's see if I can go ahead and use one of these parameters here. I'm going to have it come in from the right, so I'll just get it completely off. Make sure it's completely out of my image area, even though it's going to end in the safe title area. Now I can play this back and see how it comes in. Kind of renders first, so it's slow. Okay, and now we'll see where Workshop's going to come in. And maybe I'll bring Workshop in from the bottom. Let's see how I can do for that. And I'll go up here and expand the transform and go ahead and choose, let's see where the sound is going to be.
College workshop.
There's where workshop's going to end, so I'll go ahead and choose all of these points. And let me just back it up. And maybe that's where I'm going to have it start. So again, I'm going to go ahead and, in this case, I'll resize. And I'll drop it down. And let's see how that's going to work now. So it says need money for college. This says come to the cash for college workshop. Okay, so right now it's ending a little bit too soon. Let me just play it with the RAM preview. It's going to render everything. Then it's going to go back to the beginning.
Do you need money for college? Come to the Cash for College workshop and apply for grants and loans.
Okay, so I want it to actually go a little bit longer all the way through grants and loans. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this. And now I can select each of these. And drag this out a little bit. And now I want it to go ahead and go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put key points here. So I'll go with all those selected. I'm going to choose an opacity keyframe. I've got opacity keyframes on each one of them. And now I can move it over to the end. And I'll go ahead and change the opacity to 0. And since I had them all selected, they all go away with the same keyframe information. And now I can play it through. And you can see that it kind of holds Cash for College Workshop, and it fades out. So that's two different ways to animate. One is using the presets, one is to doing your own individual keyframes. You've got a variety of parameters to use. You could even spin things around using the rotation one if you wish to do that. So you can see a couple of different ways to do it. So go ahead and build each of the scenes in your spot.